Hello everyone, welcome back. This is Jason Roba coming to you from the Markham Port alongside Josh Roop and Paul Lannon once again. We're going to get right into it after we take a quick moment of silence for the late Flip Saunders, who passed away today after his recent battle with cancer. So we'll take a quick moment of silence for him. Alright, our first topic today: if you could pick one MLB player to start an NBA team with, who would it be?
Well, Jason, I think the first thing I'd look for is athleticism when talking about this, because I don't think the MLB player would necessarily have the skill set that translates into the NBA. So I would just go with the five-tool specimen that is St. Louis outfielder Jason Hayward. I can just imagine
it's a shame he's on the Cardinals.
Cramming on people. Yeah, it is a shame. He should sign back with the Braves this summer. That is a low-key bold prediction that he comes back to Hotlanta.
Yeah, write that one down.
Freeman. You can write that one up in the bold prediction book.
Hey, I think that's a great pick. Can't argue with that. He's definitely the athleticism that would translate to the NBA. I was thinking a little more youth while beginning an NBA team. NBA's got a while, their golden age of talent, so they'll be around for a while. So I want someone young, 21, Carlos Correa, the shortstop for the Astros. I mean, shortstop's the most important position in baseball, arguably. And so you got to be the smartest, you got to be the best at it. So I thought, why not pick him and his raw intangibles? He'd be great for the NBA.
Yeah, see, with all of these and how I chose mine too, I think you just have to go off athleticism. Because, I mean, you don't even know.
Besides that, there's not many things that go between them.
How tall is Correa?
6'2".
Okay.
So I was thinking NFL, he could be a cornerback, maybe a wide receiver, depending on. He could really play it all.
Yeah. So I went with Andrew McCutcheon, just because I could see him.
Oh yeah,
just
those dreads translate.
Yeah, having some bounce, have like a ponytail with those beds and just getting
some
out.
Gerald Green bounce.
Yeah. Like not being able to dribble or shoot at all, but he would just get out.
Back screen alley oops.
Yeah. Oh my gosh,
yeah. Wing.
Yeah, no defense.
Yeah.
I don't think, just blocks.
All right. Our next topic, or our next section, is our people we're gonna put on blast this week. We got two big ones this week. Our first one is Christian Hackenberg, the quarterback for Penn State, and I know Roop has a lot to say about him.
Yeah, I would not consider myself a fan of Christian Hackenberg. I mean, obviously you gotta love his body, 6'4", but he's like 6'4", 240, prototypical NFL size, but the dude cannot throw the football accurately. First last year in completions and attempts in the Big Ten, although he was 9th in completion percentage and first interceptions. I just don't see how an NFL prospect who throws 12 touchdowns and 20 interceptions is going to be able to translate.
Yeah,
to
what do you
NFL.
think about their success this year, though?
Although he has been great this year. I wouldn't say great, actually. He's been better. 11 touchdowns to 2 interceptions, 1,500 yards, but he's still on pace for 8th in the Big Ten in total yards overall. So
he's just not very efficient with all the interceptions, you said.
Yeah.
And I think a quarterback of his, ranking in the NFL mock draft, you have to show greatness over multiple years, and that's something he just hasn't done yet.
Yeah, he hasn't thrown with a completion percentage over 60% this year.
Wow.
Which is or in his career, which is kind of ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. I think that's tough to translate to the NFL, and I think I agree with you. I think he's a pretty average at best.
Yeah, he's got Ryan Mallett, good size, good arm, but just not accurate.
Yeah, so we'll see. He'll still probably drafted really high just because he's
projected top 10 pick.
Yeah, I mean, along with Hackenberg, though, I mean, we're gonna go to a different sport. I'm just kind of annoyed with another person on just in the athletic world, and his name's Rick Pitino. I mean, just Louisville in general deserves to be put on blast for what's been going on. But also, I just think the fact that Rick Pitino decided not to attend ACC Media Day in lieu of all these allegations to Louisville, even though he's still sending 2 grad transfers to Media Day, I think it's a little ridiculous. Mm-hmm. And the fact that this stuff happened to him during his coaching period, or potentially happened, I guess, allegedly.
But he said he didn't have any knowledge of it, did he? I think he said.
I mean, I think as a football
It's
player,
hard to look at that situation
I know,
and
that's
see
what I'm
how everyone didn't know, especially being in the dorms.
That's the
I
one
feel
thing
like
I don't get about
more
that.
people outside the basketball program probably knew about this, and it's surprising to me that this is coming out right now. I feel like this should have been something we heard about
and
2 or 3 years ago.
I feel like being the head coach of a big football school like that. I mean, Louisville's one of the top grossing athletic departments year in, year out. It's your job to know what's going on with under your.
And no one else is really accepting like responsibility for this. Like none of the players are saying anything about it. Like Terry Rozier, someone asked him about it, and he said, "I'm a Celtic now." Montrezl obviously does not care.
And then you got to also kind of think about the other people they bring up, like Antonio Blakely for
LSU.
for Blake Nee or
Yeah,
Blake Nee, I believe.
overall,
He for LSU, and
Yeah.
it's his first year, and he said that he was alleged to take part on a recruiting trip, so that's interesting.
Yeah, same with Jaquan Lyle on Ohio State as well.
And we'll see how that will play out in the long run.
Yeah, it'll be interesting because, like even Jim Boeheim at Syracuse, you saw what happened to him.
And even Joe Pa and Penn State, you could go
Penn
back
State.
to, and
So they better. I hope they come down hard on him because this is just,
I mean, I think
it's
this
just
is.
dumb.
I mean, he should not be coaching there. I don't think for too much longer.
Yeah. And now we're going to move on to the NFL and particularly the Indianapolis Colts. We talked about them last time on the show. They were actually on blast last time we talked about them.
Hey, they're right back on it this week.
We don't really have
After today's
we
performance.
don't have much better to say about them now. They did go on a 3-game win streak after they lost the first couple games, but it was against their fellow division teams, and we all know that their division isn't very strong. And then they went on to lose to the Patriots by only 7. Wasn't that bad of a game. A really stupid special teams play that I'm sure everyone has seen. They lost today to the Saints in an ugly performance. So I just wanted to get your guys' thoughts. Where do you guys think they are at this point?
I think they're dreadful. I think as of now, I'm seeing them coming out of Week 11 at 3-7, probably finishing the season somewhere around 7-9. I can see them beat Tampa Bay, and then the other 3 divisional opponents, obviously, because we do play in historically the worst division in football history.
If not all Big Four.
Yeah, in the history of professional sports, which is quite amazing. You just have to wonder, maybe the Colts' stats over the past 5 years have been kind of inflated.
Yeah.
Maybe they're not as good as we thought they were. But, I mean, I think it all starts with the O-line and the defense, like we said last week. I was listening to the Chuck Pagano show, like the pregame show today, and Pagano, for some reason, was just touting the offensive line, saying they're playing great. I just don't know how you can watch a football game and think the Colts have a solid offensive line. And
They play better, I will say, like running the football. The
yeah,
offensive
there weren't
line
as
made
many
some
holding
holes.
calls.
Yeah,
today.
they have been.
But and then it's just holding calls get called back sometimes on big runs or big plays.
Yeah,
It's
it seems like
frustrating.
every time the Colts do something well, every time they take it 1 step forward, they take 2 steps back.
Yeah, I mean, that holding call today on that Moncrief hook play at the end of the game, that probably cost them the game.
Or you could do the
down.
holding call, the defensive holding call on the Vontae interception that got called back.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just things like that. They don't give themselves a chance to stay in these
They
games.
just kill themselves.
I'd say the 2 biggest things right now, they are pretty much beating themselves with turnovers and penalties. And then they're getting off to incredibly slow starts. Like in the first quarter and first half, they just can't score. Then they
Yeah, and
have
I
to
mean,
come back.
I think a lot of people are thinking, is it time to start putting the blame on luck? Just because Hasselbeck just had 500 yards in 2 games with 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, 2 wins. It's hard to argue that, but it's still our franchise quarterback, I think, and I think the problem really stems from the offseason with what Grigson did with our team. I mean, sure, he made some really nice moves with getting Gore, getting Johnson, but does that really give us the all-around team we need to win? And that's what we're kind of learning right now. I think people said we were going to be the high-touted offense coming in, but if you don't have the people to block in front of you, I don't think you can be. And then Luck is just not making good decisions.
I think Luck's shoulder injury has to be a lot worse than people are making it out to be. You just don't see him making throws that are like 5 yards over someone's head, like when they're wide open. That's just something he has consistently proven he hasn't done in the past. And just to be doing that now with the shoulder injury, I think it has to be affecting him somehow, either mentally or physically.
Yeah, and I mean, if he's not going to be making those throws, like you said, how accurately he has in the past, he's definitely got to stop turning the ball over, and that's just something that doesn't seem to be happening anytime soon. It just seems like they just get behind early in games, so they don't really get to run their game plan as well as they'd like, I think, also.
Now, do you guys think, even if what you said is true, like they still make the playoffs because the division's so bad, but they have a poor record?
Yeah.
Do you think Pagano will be here next year?
No.
If that happens? If they make the playoffs and everything?
I think out of Grigson and Pagano, Grigson's seat is hotter. I think the city's putting most of the blame on him, not for signing people who were actual needs. But I think if they go like 7-9, 8-8, they lose in the first round of the playoffs, I think Pagano's definitely gone.
I think this whole season rides on what they do in the playoffs, and I don't think it's really a question whether or not they're going to make it to the playoffs because, T.J. Yeldon and Bortles are going to have to grow up to Tennessee and Houston hasn't shown anything to beat us, and maybe Jacksonville. But we'll be in the playoffs. It just depends on whether or not we win that first game. And if not, I think Grigson is definitely on the hot seat the most. But I could see them both being shipped out.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens with that. Doesn't look too good for the Colts right now, but it's a long season. Maybe they can turn it around. Now we'll move to the World Series. First game is this coming Tuesday night. Mets at Royals is the first game. So we're just going to give you a little bit of a preview how we think the series is going to go. Josh, we'll start with you. Where you think the series is going to go?
Yeah, I think the Mets are going to take this in 5 games. Their
quick.
rotation, they're starting Harvey, DeGrom, Syndergaard, Matz. I think.
Who's it? Harvey versus who Tuesday? You know? I don't either. Keep going.
But DeGrom has basically become a win automatically. Harvey's up there as well, and Syndergaard has basically vaulted himself in that discussion. He's just inexperienced compared to the other two. So I see them winning the DeGrom game for sure, probably the Harvey game, and then I think they'll drop one of the 2 home games, either Matz or Syndergaard. But
I would say I agree with you that.
If they don't win Game 5, they just come back through DeGrom Game 6 at home, and it's game over.
Yeah, it's just the one thing that could just help the Royals a lot is that they've been here before.
Mm-hmm.
They made it on that. No one expected them to make it last year, and now they've been there before and they have the experience. So
yeah, the Mets just got to get the bats out. That's the one thing that I guess is their biggest weakness. If they can't hit, then they're screwed.
I was thinking Mets in 6. I was thinking one of those aces for the Mets is gonna get. They're young. They gotta have one bad game this entire season.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking at least one the Royals are definitely gonna. The one they're gonna win, and then one they're gonna just have a better game than the pitchers. I was thinking Royals in 6, but Mets in 6. Thank you. I agree with you though that the Royals being there in the past is definitely is another reason I'm giving them the game 6.
It helps.
yeah, they're not gonna be scared.
Yeah, and I think Daniel Murphy's just going to carry this huge hot streak into the World Series and maybe break the record.
He might have to carry them, because they don't always hit well.
Someone's going to get paid in the offseason by some team then if he does.
Murphy is just.
Yeah, and the fact that he's not going to stay possibly potentially with the Mets is a shame.
Yeah, it's crazy. Is Joe Flacco elite? I know he hasn't played this week yet, but is he elite?
Well, tomorrow he will not be elite, but the Ravens will win. That's what I'm telling you.
I do not think he's elite.
1-5
Ravens.
All right, now we're going to talk NBA. The season is almost upon us, so we thought we should touch on a few things here. First off, we're going to talk about who we think the best player in the league is right now, because Dwight Howard came out a couple months or weeks ago?
Weeks.
Weeks.
And said James Harden is the best left-handed shooter ever, and the best player in the league today. And then obviously everyone thinks LeBron James may be the best. Curry was MVP. So I just want to get your guys' thoughts on who you thought was the dominant player in the league today at the top of the pyramid.
Well, first off, let me just talk about the best left-handed shooter ever. That's a pretty bold statement by Dwight Howard. While James Harden is one of the best players in the league right now, there have been a lot of good shooters in the past. And I was just looking up some stats and whatnot, and I saw like Chris Mullen. I think right now overall has been a better lefty shooter in his career. He has 10% on him on his career average, on Harden's career average. So I think just right then Chris Mullen's a better lefty shooter, but also low key Larry Bird is on the record for once going for 20 against the Blazers. So I would say if he's shooting lefty, I would take him over everyone. What about you for lefty shooter? Do you have a?
Well, I just think it's interesting because Dwight Howard at first he was claiming that James Harden was the best left-handed player ever.
Yeah, and then you got Bill Russell.
Yeah, and then you got David Robinson as well. You just kind of fire those two back. You're like, oh shit, like Harden, get out of here. But I don't know. I think claiming him as the best left-handed shooter is very bold. He still has to make a lot of strides, especially from three-point range.
It's only
I guess like
shooting
we're only like 2 years
3-point.
removed where he was just a shot hacker. Like he just would put shots up, not really care about it. But I mean, he's gotten his efficiency better, so we'll see. But at the moment, I think it is extremely bold. And like Paul said, Chris Mullen, he's a sharpshooter. So I would take.
And then I agree with you on Harden definitely becoming better. And I would say right now he's definitely a top 10 player, a top 5 player in the NBA, no doubt. So going on his thing of saying he's the best player in the league, it kind of gets a little gray up there. I would say.
I think you still gotta go with LeBron. Like, he just impacts the game so much.
I mean, just watching last year's finals.
He carried that team.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking definitely like Curry and LeBron could also be up there in that talks, but I would say any team right now though would want Anthony Davis. And in the next 5 to 7 years, like starting this year and the next 7 years, it's his league.
Yeah, it is. He's definitely the next guy. So.
Regardless of how bad the Pelicans are, it's his league to take over.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll build around him and everything, but I guess it's a few years away. Now Paul, you had found an article a couple of weeks ago, an interesting article that was a Portland Trailblazers
fan
writer wrote an article and said that was it next year or 2 years?
Or this year or next year. It's like through trades.
Yeah, and soon like the Blazers would have the opportunity to form a big three. And this fan was claiming that they could get Lillard to be one, then they could get DeMarcus Cousins to come over from the Kings, and then Paul George to come, and I think they wanted him to come via trade.
Yeah,
somehow.
Both of them from trades. I thought the Boogie trade was pretty decent, especially considering how the Kings are just dumb and do not value DeMarcus Cousins.
What was that trade?
It was like Mason Plumlee.
Yeah, it was Mason Plumlee and like a second rounder.
Yeah, and maybe another player, which I think. I mean, I wouldn't take it if I had Boogie, but
the Kings might.
The Kings are the most dreadful ownership.
Boogie, arguably the most talented center since Shaq.
Yeah, yeah, and by far best center in the NBA at the moment. And then the PG trade, I'm trying to recall.
It was like Vonleh, Connaughton,
and
like 3 6-round picks or something.
Yeah, it was just.
They were just sending picks.
Yeah. It didn't sound like a good trade.
No,
like for the Pacers.
Not for your franchise.
They were valuing Pat Connaughton way too high.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people forget that Paul George a couple years ago was like right in the MVP race for like most of the season.
He was in top 3.
He was going to take that step last year.
If he wouldn't have gotten hurt, he would have been up there again. And I think a lot of people are forgetting how valuable he's worth. And I kind of just want to see what your guys' expectations are for him this year. Because obviously he's coming off the energy and he played a little bit last year at the end.
Well,
but what do you think he'll do?
I mean, I think really for him, like the Pacers' ceiling is how far that he can take them. And showing what he did in the preseason, if he can do that and improve as the season goes on, I think we could very well be a contender in this league. If Monta and Miles and George Hill hit their threes, and then our guys just bored. I think if he takes over that forward position, I think that's a really good role for him, actually. And I think the Pacers have really built a core around that will allow him to really succeed.
Because he said he didn't fancy that position, if you will, at first. He didn't say he wanted to play that at first or something, but
he seems kind of disappointed.
His stat lines are saying otherwise.
Yeah, exactly. So I think he'll
I think the thing for him is, like, he's always going to have his uber athleticism and, like, the intangibles, but, like, as we saw in his last healthy year. He's just struggled heavily to score consistently and become the number one scorer. Like, he could always rely on David West or Lance Stevenson or George Hill even. I mean, George Hill played at an all-star level last year, so, I mean, he just has to make a jump.
What I think also
and
we
be
saw
able to score consistently night in, night out. The number one scorer on the base.
And I mean, also in the preseason, I thought, he's always been a good shooter, but I thought his three-point shooting had improved so much even just over the offseason. And I think, that's going to be a very big asset of his game.
Yeah, I agree. We'll see what happens with him. But now we're going to go to along with the Lillard, Boogie, and PG, I guess, theory that this fan had. Do you guys think there's any other big threes that could come together soon in the next few years?
Yeah, well, I think the biggest rumored one has been John Wall, Bradley Beal, and Kevin Durant in Washington. But I know over the summer some reports came out that Durant was actually favoring the Lakers. So I don't know how realistic it is. But him going home to Washington would be awesome. And then
so cool.
John Wall, I think, is going to make a jump this year, and Beal's obviously getting better and better. And they'll also have Gortat, just that solid guy.
Yeah.
So I think that would be a great big three. I don't know how they would compare like the Cavs or someone else more developed, but be interesting to see. But one that I was theorizing, the Knicks will have cap room at the end of this year to sign 2 max contract players with Melo. So I was thinking maybe Houston doesn't do as well as they did this year. Howard leaves, comes to New York.
Well, he is a free agent.
Yeah, Knicks snag Dwayne Wade after his 1-year deal. And, I mean, they even kind of form a pseudo Big Four with Porzingis in there. I mean, and if you just throw in Jerry and Grant at point guard,
bet your bottom
that's like a
dollar
4.5.
Well, I was thinking I was thinking more for my hometown Pacers. I was looking at the free agents coming up this year, more of a realistic what I wish we had. And I would still say, we've been missing that point guard. And I really like the Monta signing. I think he could be a part of our big three with PG. And so I like keeping them there. I like nothing too crazy. And then pick up Mike Conley in the offseason.
Wow.
And then draft a big guy coming
Bring
out.
him
Maybe
home.
Scalab Bassier. Bring him over.
Maybe Turner will progress too. Well, we don't know how good he is.
Exactly. And I think Mike Conley would he'd come home. Homecoming. Him and George Hill. Yeah, if they could be hometown heroes together.
That'd be, and then you got maybe even move Monta to the 3.
Yeah.
Play very
small.
small.
Turner at 5.
Yeah, I mean, that's just what free agent signing, so that's not too out of there. I mean, going along with free agent signings then, do you see any big contracts that you didn't like this offseason?
Yeah, 2 contracts that just really stuck out to me as being 2 contracts I would never sign as an NBA team. First off, Damari Carroll, 4 years, $64 million to the Raptors. Just a guy who consistently has not been that good. I mean, he's all right at threes. He kind of improved last season over the past 2 seasons. But, yeah, he's all right at defense. But I don't think he's worth $16 million a year. So is Tristan Thompson. He's not worth that either. But, also, Thad Young, 4-year, $50 million with the Nets. Like, what the hell are the Nets doing?
The Nets just throw money.
That just, it doesn't even make sense for their franchise. Like, they're trying to rebuild around Lopez or just rebuild in general, and you're just getting some guy who's, in the middle of his,
end.
He's on the way
He's
out.
in the middle of the end of his prime. He's in the decline of the...
Wow, that's an interesting strategy post-relocation, too.
And his prime isn't the prime of a star. He's
I would take a rookie.
So I don't really know what they're doing there. I would expect that they would try to move that contract, but I don't know who would take that. Same with the Joe Johnson contract. They were talking about buying him out.
Yeah,
I don't know.
And I was looking over the offseason, one that jumped out to me just because I think it's a little premature. He hasn't really proven himself enough. And the fact that on average he's getting paid more than Paul George is this year is a little frightening. And that's the Bucks' Chris Middleton, a 4-year, $70 million deal for averaging 13 points a game in 1 year.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
I just want to jump off this because I just realized this and I'm really pissed off about it. Amir Johnson, 2 years, $24 million to the Celtics to be their backup power forward.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot
For the listeners who don't know, Amir Johnson, it's a known thing that he's addicted to porn, too. That's just kind of weird. But he's being thrown into a rotation with David Lee, Tyler Zeller, Solinger, Old Nick. They just drafted Jordan Mickey.
Yeah,
It's similar to the Nets. Like, you just really don't know what they're doing as a franchise. Like, the Celtics strategy, I feel like, is just compiling a lot of average talent, and then just expecting to be good with Jay Crowder as your starting small forward. You're just kind of like, what the hell are you doing? Like, you don't really know.
And then, I mean,
they could package like 6 players for one, like above average.
yeah, but the Heat won't take it for Nick.
Yeah, it just.
And then, I mean, like, just to leave us out, I also think the Reggie Jackson 5-year, $80 million.
Yeah,
I mean that's the most. And
that's just one that, like, you just want to find.
I mean, there are a lot that I could say. Like, this offseason was ridiculous. 5-year, $25 million for Kyle Singler. Like, he hasn't played.
He just shit the bed in Oklahoma City.
He averaged what, like 5 minutes a game.
Third string shooting guard. He's perhaps one of the top 3 slowest players in the NBA. So I don't know how you're expecting to guard someone on night in, night out.
Yeah, I mean, we need to stop talking about this. Before I need to know how much money I won't make.
Look, we just know there's a ton of money going around in the NBA today, and that's just because, and we've talked about this before, maybe the golden age of the NBA right now. There's so much talent and everything. And you guys think because it's so popular and because so many people follow the game, that there's a possibility for some expansion into new cities, and you actually have a sort of plan mapped out?
Yeah, so me and Paul have been talking about this for a while. We see that probably optimal expansion's probably 4 teams. We don't know if they'll do it all at once. Probably like 2 and then 2, just like balance it out. We see number 1 city for us with Seattle. Just a great environment up there. Take a team back to where the Supersonics.
The 12th man.
Yeah,
they're passionate. Yeah,
they're
good
extremely
sports.
Passionate. Great.
Sounders, Seahawks, Mariners.
They just follow their teams hard.
Yeah. No, I agree. And then also we were, and I mean, all this really stems though from the fact that we think that the young players in high school and college right now are going to change the league and bring them in a bunch of money.
Yeah.
And so why not? I mean, this is the time to expand. The NFL's on the decline. I mean, they won't. I'm confident they won't be around by 2050. So I think a lot of the youth that would be going into the NFL is now going to start. It has been playing basketball. They know how dangerous it is. And I think that's really going to benefit not only the NBA but all the teams, all the other sports leagues.
Yeah, and I think as it grows in the U.S., I think we've seen a little bit, but it's going to continue to grow at a very exponential pace outside of the U.S.
I mean, NBA Global too, yeah.
Yeah, I can see like a program maybe like 10, 15 years from now where they have like sponsored teams with different like big cities around the world, like Sydney, Australia, like Beijing, China, London. Not necessarily like teams in the NBA, but just some sort of program that incorporates on an international
maybe
basis.
like an affiliation of some sort.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I could definitely see that with how global the game has become.
Yeah, so we'll see if any expansions happens. It probably won't happen.
What will be interesting about all that too is seeing how it will affect the international competition among USA basketball and whatnot if we do.
Yeah, there's a lot of talent overseas.
Yeah,
and it's only going to get bigger. So next we'll end it with some predictions for the year. So let's want your guys MVP, Rookie of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, Most Improved, and Coach of the Year, and 6th man. So, Paul, you can go first.
Yeah, okay. For my MVP, this was a tough one to pick. I mean, obviously, because we've talked about the 4, I think there are 4 top contenders, and it's LeBron, Harden, Curry, and Davis. Those are the big 4. Maybe PG.
Durant,
PG, Westbrook are all. Durant and Westbrook, depending, you never know with them, they'll probably get hurt. But I went with the winner of last year, MVP, Steph Curry. I just think they're going to ride the parade throughout this year and really succeed again. And then moving on from that, my Rookie of the Year. It's tough to pick my Rookie of the Year because I didn't want to just go with Towns and Okafor.
Yeah.
But it was hard to, so I ended up going with Towns. I just think the T-Wolves are going to do well. I also, honorable mention, I'll throw out, I think Miles Turner really fits into, he really will kind of learn behind PG, improve his shooting, really fits into the new way the Pacers play. And Frank the Tank down in Miami, unfortunately, he's in Miami, but I think he'll have a great success down there. And then Defensive Player of the Year also, pretty obvious, Anthony Davis. And then Most Improved, I think this is interesting. Over the offseason, this guy played with Pau in Spain, and they really developed a good friendship and chemistry, and they were the leading scorers on the Spain team in Eurobasket, and And they actually said, Fred Hoiberg said that he may get a starting position with over Noah or Gasol, and it's Nikola Mirotic. He's going to be the most improved player this year.
That, yeah.
I mean, he stepped up big for them last year, and I think that role is only going to increase more. And then my last two, Coach of the Year. This is an interesting one. I'm generally I'm going with whoever is number one in the West East is going to win this coaching job, unless LeBron wins 65 or more games, and then David Blatt I think becomes a contender. But I'm going to go with the asterisk winner of the West, but Luke Walton / Steve Kerr is going to win. Hopefully more Luke Walton, but that's who's going to win it. And then 6-man Tristan Thompson. He just boards so hard for a potential championship.
Maybe a little overpaid, like we said earlier, but
definitely
he does
overpaid.
board. Yeah. Now, Rube, what are your picks for this season?
Yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and preach to you here for a little bit, Roebuck. My MVP this year, after watching him in the playoffs, just terrorize people, averaging 25 and 13 and 6 from the power forward position, Blake Griffin. I think that he could win it this year, next year, maybe the next 5 years. I think he gets at least one over the span. I just think the Clippers' completeness this year will lead to him winning it. I wouldn't be surprised if Chris Paul was up there as well.
And Blake Griffin's really spent a lot of time developing his jump shot. And it's really improved a lot, and I like what I've seen from him.
Yeah, and I also want to say this year, we talked a little bit about like the golden age of the league, and I think just like the saturation of talent, I think over the next 3 or 4 years we're going to see like the classic MVP going to the best player on the best team kind of go away, and I think we're going to see some players who might not necessarily be on the best teams in the playoffs or in the best teams overall, and I think players that come to mind are like Anthony Davis, Paul George, Damian Lillard, maybe even John Wall.
I agree with that with all these super teams being formed.
Who could just jump up and make ridiculous stat lines like Lillard could this year. My rookie of the year went a little outside the box. He's going to get big minutes up in Detroit. Stanley Johnson. Been following him hard since senior year of high school when he was a junior. Watched him play in Cleveland. Absolutely terrifying. Still the most terrifying high school prospect I've seen. Yeah, St. Ed's still knocked off. #1 Matter Day at home. Never forget. Going on to Defensive Player of the Year. I guess a lot of people are picking Anthony Davis and Rudy Gobert. Obviously, both are great candidates. Gobert could probably lead the league in blocks. He's just proved to be an absolute nightmare on defense. But I'm going to go with DeAndre Jordan, sticking with the Clippers. I just think this is the most complete defensive team of the CP3, Griffin, DeAndre era. He's just going to anchor that. But I also want to say I would not be surprised if Kawhi Leonard repeated again.
He's about to take that Paul George step that he would have taken if he didn't break his leg. Yeah. But he broke his leg. But I think Kawhi is definitely on the not as high. He's not as much of an offensive threat.
He doesn't score.
He doesn't shoot as well.
Yeah. And he's like one of those players who just blends into games.
I just feel like he's just a bigger version of Victor Oladipo. He just plays harder than the person.
And there's just so many good people around him. He doesn't always have to be like the guy.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I said he kind of fades into games. Into the game, he'll have like 22, 10, and.
But he can just focus on defense then. Also.
Yeah. DeAndre was my pick for Defensive Player of the Year, but I would not be surprised if he repeated. Most improved. This was a hard one for me to choose.
I had a couple honorable mentions.
Definitely the hardest out of them, but. I'm going with Brandon Knight. I think he's going to be great this year. I think he's averaging probably like 23 and 8 maybe. I think he makes that leap. Maybe like that Danny Granger leap if I even dare say that.
Wow.
My sneaky pick, I actually had 2 sneaky picks for this award. One, it's like super sneaky, like he might not even get minutes, but Anthony Bennett looked fantastic this summer. I was really surprised.
He's improved from
but he's just playing behind Patrick Patterson and Luis Scola. I mean, they're a contender too, so I don't know if he'll get minutes. But my other pick I was deciding
he could definitely outwork Luis.
Yeah, is Mason Plumlee. I mean, he put up like 10 and 6 last year. I could see him making a leap to like 16 and 10. He's just going to get a lot of minutes up in Portland because they are going to be horrible.
I had 2 also that were in instead of Nikola Mirotic, and it was Nicholas Batum. I thought could really lead the Hornets. He only averaged 9 points last year for the Trailblazers, and I thought he's like the leading scorer for the Hornets basically this year. And then also I thought Stevenson could win it again on the Clippers. He had the similar stat season with the Pacers the year before.
The Clippers could just sweep all these awards.
Yeah,
They have so many people.
yeah. They could even sweep Coach of the Year with Doc. But my Coach of the Year, I'm expecting huge things out of Phoenix this year. So I'm just going Jeff Hornacek. I think the Suns could be sneaky good this year. That Tyson Chandler signing in the offseason is going to do big things for them because they just did not have an interior presence last year that they could consistently rely on.
Wait, I just want to say, what kind of things are you expecting out of Phoenix this year?
Big things.
Huge things?
Massive things. Moving forward, surprise team. I don't know why. I just feel like this team is very good, and I know a lot of people aren't really as high on them. But the Miami Heat, they have put together one of the most thorough starting lineups I can remember in the past
They're
3 or 4
just solid.
years. I mean,
1-2 at every position.
Goran, Wade, Luol Deng, Chris Bosh, and Whiteside, and then you take Chalmers, Justice Winslow, Gerald Green, Chris Anderson. These are all guys who have experience playing on good teams in the playoffs.
Winning championships.
I could see this team grabbing the 1 seed in the East. Even, I mean the 1 seed, but probably like a 1-2 seed.
Yeah, it's just tough to beat LeBron.
Yeah. I mean, since the Hawks are down this year, I could see them vaulting up a little bit.
Yeah.
Going forward, my flop team, Toronto Raptors. Just let it be known, their division is like the Colts division. It is horrible. 76ers, Nets, Knicks, Celtics. Sixers are rubbish. Nets and Knicks are just going to fight each other over New York and probably going to both win 25 to 30 games. And the Celtics, they're just a wild card. I don't even know what to think about them. I mean, Jay Crowder could just ball out.
Like we said, they just get average players.
Yeah, they could be extremely average or extremely bad. One of those two. My finals matchup. I guess my sixth man of the year was the same as you. Tristan Thompson.
Yeah.
He probably averages anywhere from 18 to 22 rebounds per 36 minutes. It's just stupid. My finals matchup, though, I'm taking Cavs Clippers. I think LeBron is just gonna get through the East again.
Cavs are locked. Let's just say that.
I mean, I have the Cavs handling the Pacers in 5 in the Eastern Conference, just as I thought maybe PG makes a run. And then I had the Clippers losing the Warriors in 7.
Yeah, the West will be really interesting, but I just really want Chris Paul to win, and I think he's got the best team.
Chris Paul 2016.
He's got exactly. We're making shirts. Chris Paul 2016.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I mean, for my surprise team, actually, I have the. It's not. I don't know if it's that big of a surprise. I have the Bucks. I think as a 3 seed or higher, which would be just tough because they would have to mean they'd be the number 1 team outside in theory, the Bulls and Cavs. Yeah. I just think they have an interesting combination of youth, athleticism, and experience with players like Plumlee, who's an established player in the league. And then Giannis is a matchup. I mean, they're all matchup problems, too. Michael Carter-Williams, Rookie of the Year, just got dumped off to him.
The length on that team.
They're matchup problems all throughout. And then John Henson. And then Jabari's playing behind John Henson. Like, that's kind of ridiculous. He's incredible.
Maybe he'll be starting by then, though.
Yeah, so I'm thinking they get a top 3 seed in the East, and then my flop team was actually going to be Atlanta, and they come in last in the Southeast. Is what I was thinking.
I was
behind Orlando, Charlotte, Miami, and I'm missing one team, but coming last. Yeah. And
as much as you hate DeMar, though,
Washington,
he was like the heart of that team, sort of.
Carroll?
Like when he got hurt in the playoffs and everything, that team sort of just flamed out. Because he was the one that...
Yeah, I was also thinking, my surprise team, I like the Heat there, but I was thinking the Grizzlies. This is kind of like their last year with their core. Conley, Randolph, Gasol. I mean, Randolph's production is sure to go down either the next year or the year after that just because he's so old. But I think they've really struggled over the past to score with teams. In the playoffs, like they can win 1 series, but can they win 2, 3, or 4 series?
I mean,
but I think the addition of Matt Barnes, I think a starting lineup of Conley, Barnes, Jeff Green, Randolph, and Gasol in the playoffs is pretty good. I just think Barnes gives them that like X factor.
I think it's just kind of hard to pick a team like that in the West to be a flop. just because it's hard to pick a team in the West, any team to be a flop because they're just so talented. I think that's just my only thing. I mean, I agree with your points that Randolph's old and whatnot. I just think it's tough because even though they were, a 3 seed last year, 2 seed, I mean, they're playing against Curry, Harden, Davis. So I understand where you're coming from. But, yeah, I agree. They could be doing bad this year. And then
Oh, they were my surprise.
Oh, surprise? Oh, my
Yeah,
bad.
yeah,
I thought you said
but,
flop. My bad.
Hey,
It's all good.
Yeah.
You got some confusion.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna wrap it up here with you guys' bold predictions in the near future. So we're gonna do 3 each for you guys, and then that'll be our show for today. So bring us home.
Yeah, well, when we were doing this, I didn't realize that it was just 3 bold predictions in general. So I did 3 NBA specific, and I might just keep going with this for a little bit. But Damian Lillard will lead the league in scoring this year. I think he could average upwards of 34 points a game. He is going to be the #1 and only scoring option in Portland for most of the year.
Until Von Lay gets in the rotation. Too.
Yeah, or unless Chris Kaman just starts putting up buckets and has like a revitalization of his career. Phoenix Suns grab a top 6 seed in the West. That is bold, and I love it. And then my other bold prediction, John Wall becomes a top 3 point guard in the NBA, joining the field of whoever you pick, Steph Curry, Chris Paul, Westbrook, Kyrie, Lillard. You just pick 3.
Wow.
John Wall will be in there at the end of this year. And then I guess my last bold prediction, Australia upsets the All Blacks this weekend in the Rugby World Cup final because the Wallabies are the best.
Alrighty. Yeah, no, those are all. Yeah, go Aussies, first off. Fuck.
The All Blacks.
Well, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I agree with all your picks. I'll start out with one of my picks being from the NBA. And my first pick would be Boogie will not be a king by Thanksgiving.
Wow.
I think he'll be gone by then.
Wow.
Just you never know with the Kings management too, so they could just be losing it. And then next, my bold prediction is going to be the Blue Jackets, CBJ. You've been noticing how they went on that 0-8 losing streak. They won
it all.
They won last night. They're going to match their losing streak with the same amount of wins.
With the winning
with an 8-game winning streak. And then last, but certainly not least, in this upcoming series, the World Series, obviously, I'm going to say one perfect game will be thrown
Really? Wow.
by the Mets starting rotation.
Thanks for joining us this week. Join us next time, next Sunday. We're out.
Go Jackets!